We're going to start with this from MSNBC, 45 comically bad movies that are so bad, they're good. Starting with Face Off. John Travolta and Nicolas Cage go over the top in this really goofy movie that was a Japanese anime come to life when director John Woo tells the story of two rivals who have their faces transplanted so the good guy, played by Travolta, can stop an evil plot. Every time Nick Cage has a funny name in a movie, Castor Troy, it's usually a sign the film will be trash. Like this movie. Number 2, Airborne. Have you ever imagined how a Karate Kid movie would be with skateboards and stuff? Well, I introduce you to Airborne, a movie that features the young Seth Green and Jack Black. When one teenager from California moves to Cincinnati, he somehow makes enemies with some bullies until he earns their respect by winning a race. Yeah, that's the movie. Gotta admit, never seen that one. Though Seth Green and Jack Black are in it, so that's probably why I avoided it. John Travolta is back with Battlefield Earth. Yet again, in a film so bad, it's completely funny. Battlefield Earth has bad acting, a bad dance number, a plot designed to preach Scientology. Really, we highly recommend having a few friends over and crack a beer and watch this thing. Yeah, it's not good, and I like bad movies. I do. And I wanted to really like Battlefield Earth just because of the subject matter and everything that came along with it, but it's sludge. It is hard to get through. Next is Copout. Sometimes you have to pay the bills, and that is the only way to explain how Kevin Smith, Bruce Willis, and Tracy Morgan made this really poor movie. Unacceptable from a director like Smith, who has made thought-provoking films with humor like Clerks, Chasing Amy, and Dogma. Thought-provoking? Really? Kevin Smith? Okay. This has got to be an alternate universe thing, thought-provoking. There is however, Kevin Smith talking about directing this movie is actually pretty funny. We're moving on to Book Club. Jane Fonda, Candice Bergen, Diane Keaton, and Mary Steenburgen star in this movie as 4 women who are part of a book club and get a little turned on when they read the Twilight book. Seeing them entering their world of fantasy and living love in real life is certainly interesting for some people. And if you want to laugh, this is the one for you. That doesn't really seem like a detriment, does it? I mean, it is a comedy, and if you want to laugh, this is for you. I mean, it seems to sell the movie. Never seen it, but okay, let's move on. Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. Yeah, the sequel to the original Ghost Rider. Oh, is this a prequel? I've never seen it. The prequel of this movie was pretty decent, but when Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance landed, it killed all the hype around the movie. It was directed by the people that made Crank, who turned Nick Cage into some sort of Chev Chelios with a fire skull. I'm ignorant. I don't know who that is. Pretty dope if you only want to see some good action scenes and nothing else. Well, that's pretty much what the other Ghost Rider was, really. I mean, but, okay. I forgot that was a movie, to be honest. Ghost Rider. Marvel. Hilarious. Meet Joe Black. Meet Joe Black seems to be like a failed experiment. Brad Pitt and Anthony Hopkins star in this movie, and that's pretty much it. It's unclear what they wanted to see with this, but nothing was good. It is some sort of religious movie that talks about life and death, or something in the middle. Yeah, I never could make out what the movie was about. I didn't know if, I heard that Brad Pitt was death, but then somebody else said Brad Pitt was Anthony Hopkins young. It's got Claire Florini. It didn't look interesting. Problem Child. In the same year that Home Alone came out to counter the lovable Macaulay Culkin, a terrible movie was released called Problem Child, full of slapstick and sick comedy that film stars, I remember John Ritter, Michael Oliver, Jack Warden, and Gilbert Gottfried. Oh my God. Sounds horrendous. People can love Jack Ritter all they want. I'm not one. The Wicker Man. Oh my God. Everybody knows, well, everybody I know knows about this, and I am a fan of the original. I really liked it. But this one, how any Hollywood executive greenlit a movie entitled The Wicker Man is beyond us. Well, they were making a remake of a movie that's a cult classic. That's how. Nick Cage gives a funny, bad performance to a clunky plot in a scene where his character is tortured with bees. Not the bees! Samurai Cop. Oh yeah. The movie is an absolute mess from the acting to the cutting. Legend has it that the star of the film was so bad in the initial shooting when they called him back to do reshoots, he had cut his hair and wore one of the worst wigs ever seen on film. The title says it all. I've honestly never seen the movie. It's one of those camp, cult following movies. Sorry, not a cult, but cult following movies. It just, yeah. I did see a movie kind of like that called The Swordsman with the dude from Renegade. I can't remember his name. But Lorenzo Lamas. And if that's a better version of this, that was pretty bad. So, all right. Jingle All The Way. Is that a bad movie? I've never seen it, but I hear it's like all about Christmas and stuff. All right, say what you want. This is a Christmas classic. Exactly, that's what I thought. Who didn't spend morning watching Arnold Schwarzenegger running around an entire city trying to find a Turbo Man action figure to his son? Did I read that right? Let alone his fights with Sinbad. I heard Sinbad was hilarious in it. Dressed as Turbo Man himself. This movie has Christmas written all over it, and it doesn't matter how bad it was, people will always watch it. And it's got the kid from The Phantom Menace, if I remember right. Yeah, never saw it. Gotti. Huh. John Travolta is back in this really bad mafia movie about the late New York crime boss John Gotti. I saw, I think, a movie poster for this, and I just thought it was a bad idea. The film was produced by the Gotti family, who did everything in their power to make their dad, Gotti, look like a victim. Hard to do when Gotti was convicted of organizing and ordering the deaths of at least 5 major figures in organized crime, loan sharking, racketeering, and extortion. Yeah, Teflon Don, Don Gotti. And yeah, I mean, and especially whenever like people who care about the subject matter are involved. I mean, look at Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, people like that movie. I don't get it. It was the worst. The only good thing about that movie is the soundtrack, and you don't need the movie for it. I mean, just all the misplaced sentimentality and crap. It's just, yeah, not good. Couldn't imagine how bad Gotti is. SpiderMan III. Fair enough. This is the pinnacle of movies that are ridiculously fun to watch. After 2 good movies, and the second one being awesome, Sam Raimi wanted to give a very good product, but his bosses decided to take a different direction, giving us a movie that seems very flat, no character development whatsoever, and a bunch of villains waiting for their entrance like they're in a play. That's Spider-Man 3, but you can't deny it's very fun to watch. Yeah, I mean, Sam Raimi apparently doesn't like Venom, so he cast the wrong person, did the wrong thing. Yeah, it's just nuts. I will say that Thomas Hayden Church, I like his Sandman, and Sandman has a really good story, kind of like Marvel's equivalent to Iceman. Like, he's a bad guy, but he shouldn't be a bad guy. He's got noble intentions half the time, and of course, what's funny is they hire a blonde to play a redhead, and then they hire a redhead to play a blonde. So, yeah, just not good all over. Anyway, terribly miscast. Moving on, we get to The Greatest Showman. No reason in ever seeing this movie, but let's go. It's incredible that this movie was inspired by somebody that actually lived. Well, it seems like they only used the name of P.T. Barnum and nothing else. The movie is entertaining, yes, but that doesn't hide the fact that they put some crazy things in the film that will blow your mind and ask yourself what they were trying to do with certain moments. Yeah, I hate musicals. And there you go. Hey, wait a minute. Huh. Which kind of looks like what became the Rings of Power show. Leonard Part 6. Legendary bad movie. Another one I've never seen. Before his fall from grace, Bill Cosby was raking in the cash in pieces of garbage while making millions on television and promoting anything and everything. No shit. Coca-Cola, Puddin' Pops. His spy spoof comedy, Leonard Part 6, is a truly terrible film, made by a man who was the wealthiest celebrity at the time. The movie, if you can stomach Cosby in it, is fun to watch for the sick cynicism behind it all. Howard the Duck. I did see this back in the day. And one of the early Marvel movies, if you can believe it. Howard the Duck is an offbeat Marvel character that came to Earth and in the film falls in love and sleeps with Leah Thompson. The film is a brutally bad movie that you can't stop watching and need to know what happens next. Yeah, I don't think I've seen it since back in the day. National Treasure. Really? Such a super fun movie. I guess that's their point, because tastes are subjective. I think it's a good movie overall, and apparently the public thought it was a good movie. This movie has propelled Nicolas Cage's status as a living meme. The actor was once one of the most respected in the industry, but after taking some questionable roles, his career's gone downhill. His "I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence" line is the only thing that stands out about this movie. Disagree. It's Disney's sanitized Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider. You know, it's in that world. Staying Alive. Holy God, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever. This Saturday Night Fever sequel is one of the worst things to hit the big screen ever. Yeah, right here, that's Cynthia Nixon. Gorgeous girl, married to Richard Marx at one point. The chick from Dirty Dancing who gets pregnant, has a bad abortion. Flashdance, just underrated. Should have been bigger. Tony Manero is now a professional dancer, continues to be a sex machine. The dialogue is cheesy, the acting meh, but the plot will have you laughing. Side note, this mess of a movie was actually directed by Sylvester Stallone. Yeah, and his brother Frank Stallone has a song in it. I mean, just a whole family affair. Armageddon. Oh my God. I love Armageddon. Holy cow. Big ass Michael Bay crazy movie. So awesome. Although, and it's a legendary thing, but Ben Affleck, some of his commentary in the audio commentary for the movie is top notch. The movie sums up perfectly the type of director Michael Bay is. Although he did a very good job with Bad Boys, with Armageddon, things didn't go so well. The plot of the movie is a very simple yet crazy and unrealistic. Here we have Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck as part of a mission to blow up an asteroid in outer space, combined with Aerosmith singing one of its biggest songs ever and a very emotional or not finale. Not one of their biggest songs ever, truly their biggest song ever. Bigger than Walk This Way, bigger than, I mean, anything you can think of. I'm not the biggest Aerosmith fan, but, Dream On, all that. The only time I think they've ever hit number one, the song was written by Diane Warren, I believe, and it was huge for them and really kind of changed their trajectory, when it comes to the masses. But Armageddon is a super fun movie. Yeah, fun movie, stupid movie. This one definitely needs to be on the list. The 50 Shades of Grey franchise. All right, so not just one of the movies, all the movies. This can trigger a lot of people, but it's the truth. These movies are as bad as they come. None of the three movies are salvageable, and things went worse film after film. It all started when a billionaire smoothie. Yeah, you can get those at Tropical Smoothie, billionaire smoothies. Chases a college senior, and they get engaged in a weird relationship where she's loyal to him, although they aren't a couple, and the dude has some crazy taste. That's only the beginning of everything, and the second and third movies didn't make it much better. The Weeknd's soundtrack is good, though. The Weeknd, I guess that's a band. 50 Shades of Grey franchise. I will tell you, if you're watching this on YouTube, so one of the things that's on my algorithm are the pitch meetings from Ryan, and his pitch meeting about 50 Shades of Grey is freaking hilarious. Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2. You couldn't do the Twilight franchise? Are some of those just actually good? apples compared? I don't think so. The movie also has one of the worst endings in history. When everybody believed we were going to see the final battle between the Cullen family and the Volturi, we found that the epic fight between the two groups was just a premonition. Yeah, but I think you get to see it. It was a good closure to the Twilight saga until that moment. If you know when to stop, this movie can be a great watch on a Sunday afternoon. So I guess watch the fight and then call it. Snakes on a Plane. As famous as this movie is, I've still never seen it. Financially successful and a cult classic, the movie is about an airliner that is hijacked, so to speak, by chemically altered snakes. From cobras to boas to all kinds of vipers, Snakes on a Plane is so bad it's too funny to pass up. Top Secret. Oh my God. I guess you can technically say it's a bad movie, like... I guess you can say it's technically a bad movie, but only in the sense of like Real Genius or like Airplane or something. It's silly. It's a silly movie. A parody of spy films, Top Secret is bad, but so much fun in Val Kilmer's first major role. From underwater fight scenes to campy dialogue, when Kilmer breaks into song and doing an improvised version of Tutti Frutti, you get the feeling a star is born. This film showcases that Kilmer is a talented actor despite the material, and Kilmer's awesome. In almost everything he does, really. Too Fast, Too Furious, this being the sequel. I don't think I've ever saw the sequel or the third one. The one in Tokyo. You can tell that the Fast and Furious franchise is taking things to the next level with all the maneuvers they do in every single film. Well, it's better to see that the original sequel, Too Fast, Too Furious, Paul Walker and Tyrese Gibson, tried to emulate the success Vin Diesel had in the first movie, but nothing like what that happened. It was bad dialogue, terribly told story, and more makes this movie something you'd only watch on a Sunday afternoon when you literally have nothing else to do. And the one thing that I have seen from it is there is a fight scene, I think between Tyrese and Paul Walker, where they're on the beach, and it looks like an actual fight. Like nothing good, like no clean hits and no like, you know, martial arts. It's just two guys just ripping each other apart, and they're wrestling around and stuff. I heard it was, I mean, it may be a good movie, it may not. I have no idea. I just know that fight scene. Friday After Next. I like all the Friday movies. Friday, Next Friday, Friday After Next. Great stuff. The original Friday was pure comedy gold of urban street culture. Friday After Urban Street Culture. A white chick wrote this. Not a white guy, not a black girl, a white chick. She had to have written this. I have to look that up. The original Friday was pure comedy gold of urban street culture. Friday After Next was just a silly reason to cash in on everything that the original Friday was. The sequel is not without some really funny moments, despite being woefully below the originality of the first Friday. Collateral Beauty. Never saw it. Will Smith's in it, and he was never a draw for me. It would always be the movie's subject matter. He happened to be in a movie that anybody else really could have been in. So like Independence Day, I Am Legend, stuff like that. Will Smith's not the draw for me. This movie has high expectations, but they mightily failed to deliver a good product, even though they had a very good cast, including Will Smith, Ed Norton, Kate Winslet, Helen Mirren, Keira Knightley, among others. Collateral Beauty is confusing for viewers given all their plots and the biggest one in the movie. Smith's character is tricked into ticking the concepts of love, time, and death visit him. Smith's character is tricked into ticking that love, time, and death. Who the fuck wrote this? Oh, yeah. White girl. I think. Rambo III. Really? That's the one where you draw the line? Rambo III? The one where we help the Taliban? You know the phrase, you die as a hero, live long enough to become a villain? Well, that's exactly what happened with Rambo III. They separated from the origins of the story and delivered this movie when John Rambo kicked some Russians' butt in Afghanistan. Very fun if you want to see something different. Yeah, there's this crazy scene in the movie where Rambo gets like a wound like in his torso, like on the left side or the right side, I forget what, but it's like this kind of gaping hole there, and he sears it with fire, which is a crazy scene. But yeah, fun movie without a doubt. And now we're to Season of the Witch. With some differences, this was a bad copy of The Lord of the Rings, where Hellboy, Ron Perlman, and Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider, are transporting a witch across Europe. I should tell you, this is already a crazy movie, but the dialogue between Cage and Perlman are something else. The dialogues. So the dialogues between Cage and Perlman are something else. Good God, I need to get more sleep. I know about this movie. I've never seen it, I guess. I don't know. It seems familiar, but I don't think I've seen it. Limitless. Really? I thought that movie got a lot of accolades. Okay. This movie was a dream for everybody, and it actually led to a lot of people to look for the pill that Bradley Cooper took to become the genius we see in the film. Cooper's voice tells the benefits of this pill and how great you can be when you truly open your mind. Well, that's exactly what you have to do before watching this movie. It's very entertaining, yet crazy and unreal. It's not a documentary. Jesus. Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage. Not the original Triple X, the sequel of the sequel. Okay. When Triple X State of the Union arrived, nobody wanted to see anything more from this series. But when Vin Diesel returned to the movie, the expectations were a little high. However, that didn't last too much. That didn't last too much? What the hell is going on with this writing? Just like Fast and Furious, Diesel starred in a movie with lots of crazy and unrealistic moments. But is... okay. Roadhouse. How dare you? This is one of those mixes that nobody understood and nobody will understand, to be honest. Patrick Swayze does everything in this movie that's always getting worse. What the hell did I just read? Patrick Swayze does everything in this movie that's always getting worse. The bouncer with the high-level studies tries to protect one bar from a corrupt businessman in this incredible good-bad film. I gotta be tired. That's why some of these sentences seem nonsensical to me. Showgirls, one of the worst movies ever made. A film about a bimbo Las Vegas strip dancer who tries to crack the equally sleazy and fake world of casino showgirl dancing. Panned by critics for its poor acting and ridiculous sex scenes, Showgirls is a cult classic of bad movies. I've actually never seen the movie. I didn't know there were ridiculous sex scenes in there. I know Gina Gershon was in it. And that's the chick from Saved by the Bell. That's about all I know. The Room, the infamously bad movie. One of the worst acted movies you will ever see. Oh, hi, Mark. The Room is so terrible that critics have recommended it so everyone can see the low quality of the acting. The plot of the film is unimportant. What is important is that you can get better acting from a 3-day-old glass of milk than the principal actor. I hate this writer. I now hate the writer. The Boy Next Door. Oh, J-Lo. Okay. Truth be told, we all would get crazy if Jennifer Lopez was our neighbor, but this young man took things to the next dimension. The Boy Next Door is about a guy that has a crush on an English teacher that lives next to him. Somehow he conquers the woman and then gets obsessed with him. Somehow he conquers the woman and then she gets obsessed with him? Hurting people in his quest to own the lady. What am I reading? Somehow he conquers the woman and then gets obsessed with him, hurting people in his quest to own the lady. This is a movie you'd only like to see once, and that's it unless you just have a crush on J-Lo. Oh, Batman and Robin. Dear God. Okay, 90s Batman. These were directed by Joel Schumacher, the last two, anyway, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. And there was so much hope. Joel Schumacher had done The Lost Boys. Lost Boys, one of the best, just not just vampire movies, just one of the best movies of the 80s. Just such a fun, perfect soundtrack, great acting, great casting, great story all the way around. And then he does Batman Forever, and you're like, maybe you shouldn't do it this way. And he goes, oh, not only am I going to do it this way, I'm going to do it this way on crack. And then Batman and Robin. By the late 90s, Warner Brothers was hell-bent on running their Batman franchise into the ground. After a completely bloated sequel in Batman Forever, things got worse in Batman and Robin. A disinterested Arnold Schwarzenegger made $20 million for this movie. He made $20 million because he was a star as Iceman, as Mr. Freeze, as the Iceman Mr. Freeze. And the thing about it is, this is in the 90s. Everybody and their mother was like, hey, you know who should play Mr. Freeze? Patrick Stewart, you know, the captain from the Star Trek movie. No. Arnold Schwarzenegger. What? It made no sense. And also on this movie, they had guys whose entire job was to constantly screw with the scenes and everything, so each scene they could like try to sell a new toy. No kidding. Toy consultants. Half past, oh my God, half past dead. You see Seagal there. Yeah, and really, honestly, I think in any movie really past Under Siege, maybe Under Siege 2, but really any of his straight-to-video movies or his movies after Under Siege, yeah, you can kind of go after. Steven Seagal has given the film world some stinkers, but Half Past Dead is so bad it's good. Is that true? I got to be honest, I've never seen it. Seagal plays an FBI agent who is undercover in a newly rebuilt Alcatraz island. His cover is that of a Russian car thief. Oh, I was about to say, Seagal does not even bother to put on an accent. He loves talking, like, sometimes he'll sound like he's from Louisiana, sometimes he'll sound like he's from New York. Ja Rule is the typical comic relief character from the hood, and the plot is as bad as a 3-day-old spaghetti. Yeah, I can't imagine that being. He did, I think the first movie I saw where he started doing straight-to-video movies was a film called Ticker, and there was a rapper in it, Nas. I think that's what he went by. Man, what a bad movie. Okay. Mamma Mia. Really? I know people who love this movie. Look at that cast. Adapting musicals to the big screen hasn't been the best idea of all. They realized it was terrible with Cats, but before that we had Mamma Mia, the first installment of the series. And as musicals go into screen, they're about to release Wicked, which, okay. Not even Meryl Streep could make the movie a good one, but people seem to really love it. Yeah, that's what I've seen. They even released a second one. They did? And the results were a little better. I had no idea. Excalibur. Oh my God. I love this fucking movie. I can't even see where it's bad. Like, the Excalibur movie that's bad is First Night with Richard Gere and Sean Connery. And I think it's Julie Ormond. That's a bad movie. Excalibur's awesome. Alright, so fun fact about this movie. Liam Neeson and Patrick Stewart acted in it. Yeah, of course. However, that didn't save it from being a complete disaster given their flamboyant acting and the crazy story they told to the public. Now, this has become a movie to watch if you want to laugh out of cringe or spend an afternoon learning how you should make a film. Bullshit. That's a fun movie. Granted, I was like 11 or 12 when I saw it, but and I've seen it several times since then, and I've always loved it. But it could be that that nostalgia plays a part, obviously, but I still love the movie. Silent Night, Deadly Night, the original. The producers of Silent Night, Deadly Night thought it was a great idea to release a movie about a demented Santa Claus during the holiday season. The movie is sick on so many levels. The deaths are equally as preposterous. The film should be burned at the stake. I swear it looks like he's about to chop the head off a nun. Is that what's about to happen? I've never seen it. I have no idea. The Sixth Day. Oh my God. I saw this movie once, and I think that was enough. And I can't even tell you what it's about. Let's find out. See if they tell us. Arnold Schwarzenegger had some very questionable roles in his acting career, and it's fair to say he'd be featured on the list a lot. In this movie, the former bodybuilder joined forces with Tony Goldwyn, the good-looking actor guy, and Robert Duvall. Two big names in the industry at the time. Robert Duvall at the time? No, all the time. But nothing good came from their union. An evil billionaire urges a scientist to make cloning experiments, creating a doppelganger of Arnold, unleashing madness. I have to go back and watch that movie now. Okay. Really? You're going to talk about New Jack City? New Jack City is awesome. What are you talking about? The movie is a bit over the top. Wesley Snipes, sit your $5 ass down before I make change. I mean, come on. Great movie. The movie is a bit over top at times, downright goofy, but it has very good performances and a powerful message. New Jack City came out in a time where crack was hitting the world hard. And while at times goofy, a necessary movie about who really suffers in the drug game. Yeah, drug users. Okay. Tango and Cash. Besmirching some beautiful movies from the 80s and early 90s. All right. Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell star in this buddy cop film that is so over the top that all you can do is laugh. It's a great movie. A gorgeous, young, stunning Terry Hatcher's in it. She's like in her mid-20s, and she plays Sylvester Stallone's sister. It's fantastic. From unreal car crashes, crazy kill count, and dressing in drag. Yeah, Kurt Russell dresses in drag. The movie has it all, and it's very fun to watch. The Happening. I think that's the one about the bees. I never saw it. This movie has one of the worst endings in history. Really? And that's a lot to say. M. Night Shyamalan has earned a reputation of having the craziest plot twist in his movies, and this is one of the worst. Mark Wahlberg plays a science teacher. Mark Wahlberg plays a science teacher. That's hilarious. Running away with his family after some virus made humans kill and mutilate themselves? I thought it was about bees. Okay, I don't know what I was thinking then. It all goes worse to a very anticlimactic ending that puts this movie on the list. Shouldn't it all gets worse? I'm not very bright. B-movie, the Jerry Seinfeld thing, yeah. The plot of this movie is just, well, it's quite interesting, to say the least. Famous comedian Jerry Seinfeld wrote it and participated in it, but it's still crazy. A bee finds out humans have been using honey for years without paying them and decides to sue them. That is about as Jewish as it gets. Why would you play into that stereotype? So a Jewish bee wants money. Really? Okay. It won the case, and things go wrong on Earth, prompting this bee to change his stance. The worst part of it, the movie was made for children. And our final film, John Carter. Okay. I like the movie. I thought it was good. But the only reason it seemed so cliche is because everybody who had been inspired, and you know this, everybody who had been inspired by the book had already released their movies decades previous to finally putting John Carter on the screen. Contrary to their success with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Disney really failed with this movie. John Carter is about a man that becomes King of Mars. Yes, you read that right. And is very famous among women. The movie was a complete failure at the box office, and the company desisted on their plans to make this a franchise. Well, yes, they had big plans for it. However, John Carter can still be entertaining if you have nothing else to watch. And it is. It's a fun movie. And like I said before, the trite cliches are there, but they were original in the book for the most part. So anyway, that's the 45 movies And, well, okay. Well, and there you go. So, thanks for joining me on this. Something a little bit different. I didn't have a video to make today, so I made this. Yeah, because I'm a lazy bastard. All right, take care. Bye.